Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Random Shit, Random Guy. As always, I'm your host, Phil, and we are back for a very busy weekend of wrestling. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who has helped us get to the doorsteps of 1,000 subscribers. That's right, 1,000 subscribers is within reach. It's within seconds. It's within, I want to say 40 subscribers right now. I'm going to actually get the number up while I'm still talking. But we are right knocking on the door of 1,000 subscribers. And that's thanks to you guys. If you're not already, hit that subscribe because we are doing a 1K giveaway on the page right now. We're giving away not one, not two. Well, we're giving away two awesome prizes to one lucky winner. I didn't bring them over here, but we are giving away a signed Finn Balor Demon poster. This is one of the ones you would get at like a premium live event or at a live house show. Signed by Finn Balor. We also are giving away a AEW Jazzwares 1 of 5,000 Chase Takeshna. And you do not want to miss out on that. So how do you enter, you ask? You go over to our main page, and there's going to be a link in this video to the giveaway. But you go to our giveaway, you do two things. Well, three. You subscribe to the page. Hopefully you already are. If you're already subscribed, that's one step less you got to do. Hit that thumbs up on that video. And after you do that, go down to the comment section and comment who your favorite wrestler is. I'm giving you the cheat code so you don't even have to watch the whole video. But if you do watch the whole video, it helps us out a lot. You'll see the stuff we're giving away. I will try and grab those before the podcast is over. But yeah, we are giving away some really cool stuff right now on the page. So if you are a fan of wrestling, and if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you are, go check that out. And also like this page as well, like this video as well. Comment. Anyone who comments during the live stream, your comments will be added to the screen. You will be a part of the show. So if you feel so inclined to join our conversation, hop in that comment section. If you say something that you might like or not like, let me know or join the conversation. We have a lot to talk about. There are 4 shows this weekend. One from AEW with the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. We have on Saturday from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, we have the excuse me. We have Night of Champions. NXT, we have Great American Bash, and then from TNA we have Slammiversary from Boston, Massachusetts. We're going to get into all those at the end of the card. At the end of the show, we're going to break down the pay-per-views and talk about a little bit about each one. We're probably not going to go into full details on all the cards because there's 4 fucking cards this weekend. And when I do get to that point, I want to talk about, who's this helping? Is 4 pay-per-views good for the industry within a 48-hour period? And I know they're not pay-per-views anymore. They're premium live events. But who is that actually helping? Is it helping the companies? Are you getting the most out of your time running back-to-back shows within a 48-hour period? That is something I want to talk about. But we do have a ton more to talk about before we get there. First thing I want to talk about is something that came out earlier this weekend. It's the first thing I thought about. I almost did a single video on this. And that is Bully Ray's comments on Busted Open about one Jon Moxley. Bubba Ray is somebody who has not shied away from being a dick to anyone in AEW at this point. Like, you can tell he has very big WWE, TNA bias. Hell, he works for WWE on LFG. Like, he openly criticized Jon Moxley's leadership of the Death Riders and made comments calling him a fraud. I thought this had the comment. It does not. So let's see if I can find that. But yeah, he went out of his way to call Jon Moxley a fraud and basically threatened to fight him just because he didn't like Moxley's booking and said that like he's never drawn a dollar. Like, I think Bully thinks he is somebody more than he actually is. Because that's insane. Like, Jon Moxley has been drawing money for this company since its fucking existence. This is the exact quote from Bully Ray on the Busted Open podcast. He said, and I quote, "The Death Riders have not helped AEW in any shape or form. The Death Riders are Jon Moxley playing out his pro wrestling fantasies because he couldn't get Tony's ear. Because he wanted to be Terry Funk. I would beat the shit out of Jon Moxley." And I'm thinking, Bully, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, I get it. You come from ECW and you think that you were over in the WWE, and you were as a tag team. But you are long since being relatively important in the wrestling sphere. Like, that's not something that has been going on for a while. Like, nobody's like, oh man, gotta see Bubba, gotta see Bully. Like, I've been to an independent show that he popped up on, and the crowd popped for a second, and then the next person got an even louder response than he did. And I think he likes himself more than he should. And all this is because he doesn't like the booking of Jon Moxley, and he cites, that, Claudio and Yuta and Pac would be better off without him. But to go on and say that you would beat the shit out of Jon Moxley and that you would outdraw Jon Moxley in audiences, like, clearly you've never been to an AEW show. When Jon Moxley's music hits, that crowd goes ape shit. I had the pleasure of being in the crowd in Cincinnati, which is Jon Moxley's hometown, when Jon Moxley come through the crowd and it went ape shit. And there's one guy on the roster who Tony Khan says is there 52 weeks out of the year, whether he's on the show or not. And that's Jon Moxley. It's insane because Jon Moxley, as a babyface, was one of the top babyfaces in the company and helped hold it together. Excuse me. And then once he turned heel, it just continued. Now, has the Death Rider storyline played out? I would say so. I know when Moxley had the belt in the briefcase, I was over, that whole storyline. I was ready for something new, something different. And just like everybody else, when Hangman defeated him, it was like, fuck yeah, fresh start. And I feel like in some ways, Jon Moxley's booking did get better once he was no longer in the Death Rider heel role, if that makes sense. Like, they're kind of tweeners right now. Like, yeah, he's a heel, but he's also a babyface that does heel things. But he's not a complete heel, even though he's in a heel group. Like, I really think at some point that Jon Moxley's going to get kicked out of that group. But it's just got to the point where more and more people are talking about this comment with Bully Ray, including somebody who could literally and easily beat the shit out of one Bully Ray, and that is Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett got involved in this, and all because he called Jon Moxley a fraud. And Bully did not like that Josh Barnett stood up with him, pretty much, because it seems like every time anyone stands up to Bully, he don't like it and has to call him a fraud and say that, they never made money. Josh Barnett said this. Interesting take here, bully, and he said it in quotation marks. Mox can handle himself just fine, so he doesn't need me to fight any of his battles for him. But if you have the itch to feel like but if you've ever had the itch to feel like you would have kicked, let me rephrase that. Let me start over. Mox can handle himself just fine, so he doesn't need me to fight any of his battles. But if you ever have the itch to feel what it would be like to have your ass kicked so thoroughly to the point of epic humiliation, I can help you with that. I can not only beat the shit out of you, but do so in a way that makes your ass kicking legendary. For you, anytime, just ask. So that's what Josh Barnett said to one Bully Ray over the comments on Jon Moxley. And it just keeps getting more and more as we go. So it's just interesting. And if you don't know who Josh Barnett is, and you're just a wrestling fan, Josh Barnett is a former UFC fighter and UFC champion at heavyweight. I want to say he's the youngest, or was the youngest. Trying to pull up his wiki here. But yeah, Josh Barnett is a legit fighter. Like, he was the youngest heavyweight champion. Yeah. He was a finalist in the 2006 open weight Grand Prix in Pride. Like, he's the Strikeforce champion. He is a legit fucking MMA badass. On top of that, he comes from the world of catch wrestling, and he legit can beat the fuck out of anyone who would try and fight him. So Bully went on to say, there's a sucker born every minute, and then would go on to even say more shit about Josh Barnett. And it's just crazy to think that Bully would even try. And, like, I get it. He's got a radio show. He's got to stay relevant each week. But this is a battle you shouldn't be fighting, and all because you're like, oh, well, I guess he thinks he is more badass than he is. And it's just crazy because you're fighting, like, this is somebody who could legit beat the fuck out of you. And you're so in your head thinking that he's, I don't know. It's just crazy. And, he's accused Bully accused him of backpedaling. He said, Josh, I too can handle myself just fine. Fight my battles. But if I ever had the itch to feel like it, damn, I can't read today. Bully said, Josh, I can handle myself just fine. Fight my battles. If you ever had the itch to feel what it's like to be over so thoroughly that you can draw money, I can help you with that. Not only can I put you over on the way, put you over in a way that would make your ass legendary for you anytime. So he went back and tried and use that same line against him. He thinks because he was in the WWE and in ECW that he is so much more popular and over than anyone who's ever stepped foot on this planet. And, like, the more Bully Ray talks, the more he looks like an asshole. And now he's even starting shit with independent wrestlers. He has now started with Joey Janela. And it's like it just never stops. And Joey said, there's no bigger fraud on the Jersey Shore than a 54-year-old Bubba Dudley sits around in his DJs by himself on a Sunday all day buying groups of 22-year-old girls shots, waiting for someone to recognize him. Sorry. Waiting on someone to recognize him. When they do, ask for a picture and then tell them to fuck off. The stories never end. When people find out that I'm a wrestler, they said, "Do you know Mark, aka Bubba? That guy's a fucking loser." And because of that, those comments, Bully says, "Also, you fucking moron, I was never booked," talking about a show. Let's see here. "I'll never forget that fat loser for absolutely, completely dosing a table of..." God damn. So after he said that, Joey went on and said, "I'll never forget that fat loser looking absolutely completely dosing a table in 2 bottles of lighter fluid and not wanting for it to dissipate, giving me 3rd-degree burns on my body and not checking on me afterwards. Even laughed a bit when I told him I was going to the hospital." He said, "You're going to the hospital?" As the skin bubbles on my body. Matt Cardona, on the other hand, felt terribly checked in. Matt Cardona felt terribly and checked in on me every day. It wasn't his fucking gimmick. So it's just. And then Bubba says, "Also, you fucking moron, I was never booked for that show. It was extremely last minute replacement added. Not even 24 hours prior because someone couldn't make it. The person I saw was you who bought me the lighter fluid and the oil lamp and begged and cried, you stupid bitch." So it's like anybody who's been in that orbit of the ECW world feels like they're so much more important than everybody else. You got Tommy Dreamer this week, who's in a shit ton of controversy after being fired with making inappropriate match choices with females. And I haven't got a chance to read into a ton of it, so I don't want to get into the dynamics of Tommy Dreamer and if he'll ever be back because of the ongoing talk that is going on with him. But it's like, these ECW guys, when it comes to modern takes on things, feel like they are the end-all be-all shit, and they are not. And it's kind of weird that people still want Bubba's opinion, and I get it. He's on Busted Open. Busted Open has a lot of wrestlers whose opinion I don't respect. Like, Mark Henry is somebody like, the more he talks, the dumber he sounds. Bubba Ray, every time he opens his mouth, he sounds like an idiot. Tommy Dreamer, say what you will about him, like, he helped TNA out in a time, but his shit got old fast, and evidently he was doing the same old kind of shit that ECW kind of people would do. That's all I know how to say it. Like, it's interesting to think how far that Tommy and Bully have talked their way into being down the road, and that's just crazy. Speaking of TNA, news come out from Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp that they are adding another excuse me. I'm having a bad day today if you can't tell. TNA is discussing adding another title to its lineup, a women's title, which would, women's mid-card title, which would take place and come out in July of this year in a tournament. Shocker, everything's got to be in a fucking tournament. But I guess this is going to be in the fallout of Slammiversary. It's probably going to be announced at Slammiversary if I had a guess, or they're going to show off the belt. I don't know, but Slammiversary is coming up on Sunday, and like I said, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. But I'm just curious to see how it's going to work. Like, if there's one company who's had historically the best women's division, it was TNA. TNA's knockouts used to always be better than WWE, but that is kind of passed by. A lot of your women in TNA now are XW. Shit. All your talent really is ex WWE people in TNA now. It's not just just some of it. It's most of the talent is people who's been fired or let go, and they have needed a home, and that's where they ended up at. Because a lot of the women who get released from WWE, unless they're over to start with, most of the time have to work their way to get to AEW, and the way they do that is through TNA. So the fact that TNA wants to add another title, in theory, is good. The problem is how many titles do we need in wrestling? Like, let's just look at AEW. AEW has, just in their main event, their 12-man tag, they have, in one match, they have the AEW World Champion, they have the AEW International Champion, they have the trios titles. So on one team alone, there's 5 title belts, or not 5 titles, but 3 titles on one side out of 6 people. And then on the other side, you've got there's 2 titles on one side, and then on the other side you got the Max's title. So, I forgot, and the TNT title. That's 4 titles in one match. And one of them's the trios, so that's 3, 4, 5 champions in one match out of 12 people. That's just fucking insane. It's like, how many title belts do we need in wrestling? And does TNA need more belts? No. Does AEW need more belts? Fuck no. They need less. WWE needs less as well. So it's like these title belts don't really mean anything anymore. You're just putting them on people to say that there's a title. And then once you get a title in some of these companies, it's like, oh, I got to go for a double title. 2 belts. Becky 2 belts. Or I don't know what Moxley would call, anybody would call themselves with 2 belts. But like, you've got all these people who aren't defending their titles. And if there's one thing, at least John Moxley is doing that. So... but yeah, I don't know how many women are in the TNA roster at this moment. So a mid-card title would help you, but like, they're not holding on to talent, and everybody's on a short-term deal there. So it's like, how many people how would it help for them to get more titles? So I don't know that it would. I don't think it needs to happen. I think that ultimately, this is not the best move. So, let's start talking about the pay-per-views this weekend. I want to start with AEW's Forbidden Door. And going into Forbidden Door, we have the press conference that Tony does each and every week. And AEW Forbidden Door takes place from San Jose at the SAP Center on Sunday at 8 p.m. It's usually 8 p.m. I'm going to say 8 p.m. As of right now, there are 10 matches on the card. Hopefully there's not many more, but they'll probably add 2 more if I know them. But going into this card, Forbidden Door doesn't hold the forbiddenness, no pun intended, that it once had. When Forbidden Door first started, the idea was behind putting New Japan talent up against AEW talent was unheard of at the time. You didn't do it outside the Indies or Ring of Honor. And now it's just kind of, you just do whatever. And the way that they kind of keep adding to the Forbidden Door is, first it was with New Japan, and then it was CMLL, and then this year it's Stardom, The problem is out of these 10 matches, most of them are AEW versus AEW. And I get they're using former talent from those to make it kind of feel like it's more Forbidden Doorish, but it's not. You know, for the AEW women's tag titles, you have Divine Dominion versus Thunder Rosa and Olympia. That's AEW versus AEW. You got Cope Cage versus the Dogs. That's AEW versus AEW. You do have a 3-way tag match, which is the Young Bucks versus El Sky Team versus Unbound Company. That is your first and really, not really only, but one of the main Forbidden Door matches. So that one at least does have some Forbidden Door aspects to it. You got Jon Moxley versus Bandito for the Continental title. You have the iJapan Heavyweight title on the line with Shota Umi versus Pac. So that right there is a Forbidden Door match. So we're at 2 Forbidden Door matches. The next one's Forbidden with Tekla versus Starlight Kid, with Tekla versus the Stardom brand basically there. And then you have Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. So that's 4 out of the 10 matches. So 6 of these are basically AEW versus AEW, which in the end wouldn't be that big a deal, but it's called Forbidden Door. This concept is, in my opinion, Forbidden Door has always been the weakest pay-per-view that they run each year. And it's weird because they run 9 pay-per-views. This year they're planning on running 10 pay-per-views, as they've added a 10th pay-per-view that will take place next month in Redemption for the first time. Redemption is going to be taking place on July the 26th from Quebec at the Bell Center in Montreal. So you're adding pay-per-views, and this is one you could have kind of done away with or rebranded and made it Redemption. And I get it, 10 pay-per-views sounds better than 9, but I miss the days when AEW ran 4 pay-per-views a year. I thought that was the perfect build number. I thought it gave talent more time to build stories, and now you have a pay-per-view every 4 to 6 weeks, which is what WWE does, and I get that. But it's like, man, that just doesn't seem like something that should be happening. And like I said, it's Forbidden Door could have been another pay-per-view brand, and this would have probably been a better show going in. That being said, this show's going to be a fucking banger. When AEW puts on pay-per-views, it's always amazing. And going into it, there was a press conference with Tony Khan that he always does the media calls on Thursday before the pay-per-view. And someone asked him about the Forbidden Door aspect and if it was hindered by anything. And the answer is yes. It has been hindered by visas. One of the things about Forbidden Door for the last couple of years is it's been in Canada. You don't have to deal with those American visas that way, because you can just bring in talent through Canada, and it's a lot easier to do in Canada than it is in the United States because of the immigration policies that we have in place currently. So it does make it harder. This is what Tony Khan had to say about visa issues hindering the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, and I apologize in advance because my reading skills are not good today. There are a number of wrestlers that we were factoring in coming in from countries all over the world that I look forward to. God damn it, I'm already messing up. That I'm looking forward to their return, and they're not here and available right now. It speaks to the growth and depth of the AEW roster that we're putting on tremendous TV every Wednesday and Saturday, doing 4 hours of television of what I believe is the strongest television that we've done, an exciting pay-per-view card without all the great stars available. There are a number of stars in Mexico right now and some great wrestlers that I would love to have here, but are not because of recent that we'd love to have here. Their visas weren't available in recent weeks. That would include the Beast Mortos, Commander, Hechicero, and going through their visa renewals with a number of wrestlers down there as well that I've not mentioned yet. And we also are having challenges with a number of international wrestlers. I was hoping to have Gabe Kidd here, and Gabe Kidd is another wrestler who's going through the renewal process. One that I expect to return very soon. On the Global Wars show tonight, representing AEW defending the title was Mark Davis. Mark Davis will be back very soon. I would expect Mark Davis back sooner than some of the other people I named. But hopefully all these people will get everything worked out soon. In the case of Beast Mortos, it's more innovative. I realize that if Beast Mortos could not come here, a great thing would be for Sammy Guevara to go to CMLL and defend the tag titles with Beast Mortos. There's been wrestlers from Stardom who've not been able to come in, and for some of their scheduled dates, and that I preferred. Stardom has been the best partner in terms of having visas organized and people to get here and have Starlight Kid come in this weekend, blah, 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 blah. Basically, visa issues have played a huge issue on this card. An issue that would not have been an issue had they done this card in Canada next month as opposed to this month, because a lot of the Japanese wrestlers are able to travel into Canada a lot easier, and we sure the fuck know that a lot of these lucha wrestlers from Mexico can get into Canada fucking a lot easier than the United States, especially at this current time and the climate of our country. So that, in a nutshell, is one of the reasons why this card is not as good and as strong as it should have been. Is that the only reason? No. Would it be better? The problem with the Forbidden Door show is you don't have the talent there from the other countries representing on a weekly basis leading up to the pay-per-view. A lot of times you got them coming in, like Zack Sabre Jr. came in about 3 weeks ago, and he's been doing stuff leading into his match with Kenny Omega. But you had the reverse for the Stardom talent. You had Tekla going to Japan to do stuff in Stardom to sell the card from the Stardom side and then showing that footage on AEW television. I think that worked out very well because the whole beef is not really Starlight Kid versus Tekla. It's Tekla versus Stardom. So that kind of plays out there. Another thing Tony Khan was asked about is if he was interested in buying TNA. And he pretty much gave the number that was discussed. And he had this to say. Let me get the right. Sources at Anthem say that TNA is currently for sale between $30 and $50 million, with 30 being the bottom they would accept. And Tony Khan was asked about it. He said, it has value to the right place. The video library has a lot of great wrestlers over the years, certainly not the priority for me as an acquisition right now. It's not something I've had serious conversations about. Like a lot of things in life, it would be an interesting purchase, but for the right price. But that's true about so many things in life. There are a lot of excellent automobiles I would love to have in my garage, but it depends on the price. At $40 million, no, absolutely not. So the $40 million price tag says Tony Khan is not interested in TNA. And as I was saying last week, all you're buying with TNA is a couple belts, and you're buying a library. That's right. You're buying a TNA library. 24 years worth of a library, but a very expensive library at $40 million. You're not getting contracts of guys who are younger And at this point, you can literally wait it out like WWE does all the time. So Anthem is going to have a hard time finding a buyer. WWE is not interested. Tony Khan's not interested. I don't know who would be interested at this point, but it sure as the fuck ain't the high rollers. So, I do want to get back into the Forbidden Door card just a little bit and talk about the 3 main event matches. I kind of got into my thoughts on the Team Briscoe versus Team Don Callis family, or DC MJF. And that's the one match on this card that I really don't understand. And part of me is like, are they doing this because Max is hurt? And we do know Max does have an injury. But if this was pitched prior to the injury, it doesn't make sense. If it was pitched post-injury, it does make sense because you can hide some of Max's injury behind other people. Especially because you're going to have 12 men in a fucking cage. 12 people in a cage is insane. And I get it. They're going to most likely have one of those cages where it drops down and it's not around the ring, it's around the ringside area. They've used those before in the past, so that is the only way I could see 12 people fitting into a cage. And it's Team Briscoe, which is Mark Briscoe. And if Team Briscoe wins this match, Mark gets an AEW title shot. I do see Chicken's team winning, but you got Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Takeshita, and Darby Allin versus MJF, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Jake Doyle, Okada, and Andrade. I think Andrade is going to turn on the Don Callis family and help Mark Briscoe win this one. So I don't have a problem with this match, but I don't think it's a Forbidden Door match. And I definitely don't think it's the quality of a main event of any pay-per-view. Especially because they just did this match on the main event of a Dynamite. So it's like, just because it's in a steel cage does not mean it needs to main event a show. So that I think is a weaker main event. I think the real main event is going to be Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland for the Owen Hart title, Cup champion. And the winner of that match does get a chance to move on to All In and face whoever has the title at that time. Most likely Kenny Omega, if I had to put my money on it. This is going to be probably the match of the night. Swerve and Will are going to tear down that place, but Will Ospreay is going to win this match. He didn't win last year. It's in Wembley. He's going to win so that he can win the title in Wembley. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. August 30th, Wembley Stadium. At the end of the night, Will Ospreay is going to have his hand raised and be the AEW champion. And Swerve Strickland is just the guy in the way. Now, is it the best match? Fuck yeah, this is going to be the best lineup match. Swerve is doing a great job as a heel. I think it would be really smart coming out of this if Swerve and Hangman teamed up in some way and went for the tag titles or just started tearing down shit. And then ultimately, they can break apart. But Will Ospreay's on the journey to become the champion, and that starts at Forbidden Door when he wins the title. Wins the Owen Hart Cup. And then the other Owen Hart Cup match it's kind of, if you would have put, one, you couldn't have put money on this to start because neither one of these people were originally supposed to be in the Owen Hart tournament. You have Mercedes Moné taking on Maya World. Like if you said my world was going to be in AEW right now, I would have said, yeah, in some kind of jobber position in a tag team match. No, my world is performing on a pay-per-view going up against Mercedes Moné for the Women's Owen Hart Cup to go on to Wembley to face most likely Tekla at Wembley. Like, I would have thought you were fucking crazy. And Mercedes being in this, originally she wasn't supposed to be, but that's a no-brainer. Like, if you got her, you use her, and you definitely put the title on her. But I'm kind of over Mercedes. Like, Mercedes come back and was a babyface in a way. But she's went out of her way to become a heel, and I don't think she's a great heel in AEW. I think her matches are great, but I don't love her promos as a heel. I really think her as a babyface would have got over so much better. And maybe this is a way to make Tekla a babyface when it's over with, but like, I would have liked to have seen Mercedes been a babyface going into this. And it's really tough because you got to make her the heel against My World, but up against Tekla, I think she's got to be the heel there too, because I think in the end, I think it's going to be heel versus heel, but I think Tekla is going to lose, and that's going to make her more of a babyface in the end. And I think we're gonna leave Wembley with Mercedes Moné as the women's champ. The match that I think is going to set up to make Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega is the first step towards that. I think this is the Kenny Omega I'm a badass tour, and it starts here. I think he's going to have a strong 3 months or 2 months going in. I think Kenny's going to defeat Zack Sabre Jr. in a technical fucking battle. Like I said, this is the most Forbidden Door match on this card because Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't do a lot of stuff with AEW. So you got Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's going over in that one. And I think that is going to start him on a tear over the next couple weeks. And then win the title in Canada next month at Redemption. And then go on to face Will Ospreay for the title in Wembley. That's my path to get us to Wembley. So, but yeah, that is the last card, and in my opinion, the best card of the weekend. I'm going to kind of go over the other 3 cards quickly that is going to be happening. Next up, I'm going to talk about Night of Champions. Night of Champions happens in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The show starts, I think, at 1 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. I love these daytime shows. It's available on ESPN. I will say, having tournaments on back-to-back shows have kind of checked me out on wrestling. I am not a huge fan of tournaments in wrestling, especially predictable tournaments. And they've kind of made one of them, like the AEW ones have been kind of predictable. You knew when you saw the brackets who were coming out. Not so much the King and Queen of the Ring brackets. Those were not as predictable, but still they were kind of predictable. And that is, we thought Obafemi would be in the final for King of the Ring. And when we saw Liv Morgan's name in there, it was like, that's the what the fuck is she doing here? So this is a 5-match card. Originally, it was supposed to be the 5th match was supposed to be a Rhea Ripley match, but she's been replaced with Tiffany Stratton, who is currently injured. So you have the main event on this show, Cody Rhodes versus Gunther versus Sami Zayn. And part of me is like, hey, it is time to take the belt off Cody and possibly move it to Gunther. But could you move it to Sami? I think Sami Zayn's had so many shots, and I think his time's up. So if someone is going to beat Cody Rhodes, it's got to be Gunther this week at Weekend of Champions. The question is whoever's the champion here will be the champion at SummerSlam. Do you trust Gunther's selling ability to one, carry the SmackDown show, which is the weakest of the WWE shows, and to it just that match going in made no sense. Like, you had Gunther pick Sami Zayn to be the referee, and then they attack each other, and they could have got the belt off Cody there, but they didn't. And it's just been such a slow burn that it's like, man, just either get the title off of him or start something new. No matter what, at SummerSlam, I don't want to see Cody versus Gunther. If Gunther wins, I don't want to see Sammy versus Cody. If Sammy wins, I want Cody to start something fresh with somebody else if he loses this title. And if he wins this title, great. Somebody else. Maybe Randy Orton. Maybe, I don't know. But not fucking Gunther, not Sami Zayn. The King of the Ring. This one is kind of... I think there is a good chance that Obafemi loses the King of the Ring because Brock Lesnar interferes. And that makes Jey Uso the King of the Ring. And one of the things with Jey is, like, Jey has had several chances. Jey has been champion. Jey has been the Royal Rumble winner. Like, Jey was not set to be, in most fans' eyes, in the King of the Ring finals. But we have Jey Uso versus Obafemi. Obafemi should be King of the Ring. The question is, if Obafemi is King of the Ring, who does he face at SummerSlam? Like, realistically, he should be going for the title. But most people, including myself, think that he's going to have Brock Lesnar there. Or do we have... It's 2 nights. Do we get Oba versus Brock on one night, and then Oba versus Roman on night 2? I mean, that's a big way to put him over and to sell some tickets, but it's like, you got a ton of people in the company that's not doing jack shit. Like, put them on these 2-day shows. Like, that's 8 matches in 2 days. Like, and I get it. That's not a lot of matches, because in AEW, we got 10, probably 12 matches on Saturday. But for WWE, 8 matches is 3 months worth of television, because God forbid they put more than 5 matches on pay-per-view. So I think Jey is going to end up winning it, sadly. And will he go for Cody, or will he go for Roman? That is something we'll figure out on Saturday. And then you got the Queen of the Ring finals, which makes no fucking sense, of Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. Why in the fuck is a champion even in this tournament in the first place? When the winner gets a championship title match, like, are you planning on doing Liv versus fucking Rhea? Like, who wins there? You have one. You got to have a women's champion on each brand. That would be stupid. So the winner of this needs to be Io Sky. And my thing is, if Io beats Liv, she should be the champion and Queen of the Ring. She's not going to be, but she should be. Does Io say, hey, I've already beat Liv, I'm coming for my best friend Rhea Ripley? That's a possibility. So I think you're going to have Queen Io and King Jey after this pay-per-view. And then you got Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints. 2 guys they are building. Love this match. I think Trick's going to keep it, but I'd love to see Ricky win just because he's an AEW guy, and I love my AEW guys when they go over there. Then you got the biggest mistake that should have already been over. A steel cage match with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Braun should win again. Braun should have become champion when Seth got hurt. That should have fucking happened. And quit with this slow burn bullshit. Like, it makes no sense to make us wait forever and ever and ever, because by the time you do get what the fans wanted in the first place, the fans don't care anymore. So it's like, I'll be honest, I don't give a fuck about the Vision right now. I don't. After the injury and you didn't make Braun the champion, who cares? On to the next one. And instead, we're still doing Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker a year later because you're like, oh, we got to do it at Mania. Mania don't mean shit anymore. You got so many shows. Do it before then. Make some of these other shows mean something. And then you got Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. I think Jade Cargill's the worst wrestler in WWE. She's not developed at all since she got there. So Tiffany Stratton's the winner of that one. Okay, so that's the pay-per-view that starts the weekend at 1 p.m. on Saturday with Night of Champions, which used to be Champions versus Champions, but now that's Crown Jewel. All these names don't make sense anymore, just like Forbidden Door is not Forbidden. Forbidden Door ends our weekend. Then, sandwiched between these two main shows, the most important shows of the weekend are these two. You have Slammiversary. Slammiversary is taking place on Sunday at, what time is that starting? I think it's early. I think it's a 2 o'clock start time, if I'm not wrong. Start time is 4 p.m. So they're going to go 2 hours. You're going to go 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to whatever. If you have the time, you could sit down at 4 p.m. and watch wrestling until midnight. You're going to have match after match after match the whole fucking time. And Slammiversary, like I said, it takes place in Boston at the and this is probably going to be one of the last matches you have with Santana. I was going to say Ortiz, but Ortiz doesn't work there anymore. But yeah, so you have, I think this is a 6-fight card too. No, they're doing 9. 9 matches in 2 hours. That seems like you're pushing it, but there's no way they're not going to get done in time for the NXT show to start. Their partners, they're probably going to do a pre-show if I had to guess. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. So you've got Cedric Alexander. This is for the Ultimate. They're going to do Ultimate X at this show for the X Division title, which is Cedric Alexander, the current champion and member of the System, versus Leon Slater versus Frankie Kazarian versus Mr. Elegance versus Fabian, I don't know his last name, Amazing Red, and Casey Navarro. I want to watch this match because this is the first time Amazing Red has been back in TNA in over 10 years. This is the first Amazing Red match since 2011. 15 years. 15 years since Amazing Red, who helped create the X Division, is now going to be in the X Division championship match at Ultimate X. That match, Amazing Red being in this match, is the one reason I want to watch this show. I think you're going to have Leon Slater soon leaving the company soon and going to WWE. The question is before he gets there, will he win this? That is a question I don't know. But it would be cool as shit if he did. Oh, excuse me. We know that's somebody, though, that WWE wants very badly. They've used him on shows several times now. So I could definitely see Leon Slater winning this match. But Amazing Red being back in TNA makes this match why I, as an old school TNA fan, would like to see this match. You also have the women's knockout titles, the Elegance brand versus Rosemary and Allie. I really hope Rosemary and Allie wins this just because I can't stand the Elegance brand. I think that is a very Tommy Dreamer idea, and if you want to shake shit up, get it off them. I say shake it up. How many times has Rosemary been the TNA Knockouts Tag Champions? 4 times. So that's not really shaking shit up, but they do have Allie back in the company, and I think Allie being back kind of gives that a fresh face. Even though Allie's been with TNA in and out so many times, I think Allie is the reason that you give Rosemary and Allie the tag titles. It'd be cool to see Butcher and Blade show up there, since their contracts are, if they're not up, they're almost up. But yeah, I want to see the Elegance brand lose those titles. Ricky Sosa is the next big thing. So Ricky Sosa versus Eric Young. Ricky Sosa should win that match. Mustafa Ali has an open challenge for his international championship. There is rumors that it is a former WWE talent coming in for that. Somebody who just got fired. I'm not positive, but that is the rumors on who could be coming in as somebody who was his on 90 days and WWE let him go early. Up next, we got Moose versus Eddie Edwards for the 112th time. Maybe this will be the end of the system storylines with each other. I doubt it, but it's like if you got Moose, you got to put him up against Eddie or Brian or Bear or Cedric Alexander. You can't let Moose do his own fucking thing. So you got Moose versus Eddie Edwards. Cool. This is Eddie's hometown. I say Eddie gets the win, but Moose just come back. So who the fuck knows? Women's title, you got two former NXT talent in Lei Ying Lee versus Xia Brooks. I think Lee is going to retain her title. Then you got in a 3-way title, because it wouldn't be a Slammiversary card unless the Hardys had a ladder match against the System and another team. You got the System and Brian Myers, the current champions, versus the Hardys, which is Broken Matt and Brother Nero, versus the Righteous. This is going to be a car crash of a match similar to the last time. I would assume you would either go Hardys or System on this, but if they want to build the Righteous, this is the time to move that title. Then you got AJ Francis versus Elijah. I say AJ Francis wins that one, and then you got Nick Nemeth taking on Mike Santana in what will most likely be Mike Santana's final title night, as Nick Nemeth is using his college shot for the championship, and Nick Nemeth will be your next and again champion, in my opinion. So that card starts at 4 p.m. It's going for 2 hours. It's going to run into the Great American Bash. NXT Great American Bash is going to be on the CW and ESPN. I think it's streaming both places. I could be wrong, but yeah. Yeah, no, I'm right. It's going to be on the CW on regular TV at 4 p.m. Or is it 6 p.m.? They start at 6 p.m. So many fucking times. TNA starts at 4. NXT starts at 6. You have on that a 7-match card. You have Lola Vice taking on Kendall Gray for the title. I just saw Kendall Gray in action this past weekend in Corbin. She talented as fuck. Tony D versus Evil. I refuse to say his new name. Tony D's probably going to retain unless if he's ready to get called up, and then you might put the title on Evil. You got Miles Bourne versus Tavion Heights. Both of those guys were there this weekend as well. Then you got Ariana Grace going for the speed title against Ren Sinclair. I guess if you want, that's how they're getting so many matches on there. There's a fucking squash match. I don't think I think that the time for the speed title is over. I think that should be gone. So sure, put it on Ariana Grace. I don't give a fuck who wins that, because that title shouldn't exist. Dion Lennox versus Shaquan Shakur. Then you got Daria versus Tatum Paxley. I think this is the time where Tatum Paxley gets the title back. And then I think this summer, by the end of August, I think Tatum Paxley gets called up and is in the WWE post SummerSlam. And then you got Shiloh Hill taking on Tristan Angels. Overall, this should be a good card. I probably won't be watching this one. I got to work Sunday, and it's either NXT or work, and I'm going to choose work so that I can be home in time to watch the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, which we already talked about. It starts on at 8 o'clock and pre-show at 7. It's a lot of wrestling. A lot of wrestling. And who does this benefit? The question I ask in the title, who are the real winners of a four pay-per-views in a weekend? The fans? If you love wrestling, you have three decent cards, and 3 out of the 4 cards are pretty damn good. If you love wrestling, then you're the winner. As far as others, I know that they want to hurt AEW by running Great American Bash up against it. Great American Bash will probably go, honestly, past the 8 o'clock hour. Let's see, when does Great American Bash? I don't know. CW, I'm not even going to try. Anyways, it might go on past that hour, but I'm not sure if it benefits NXT to be on when the AEW pay-per-view starts. There's one thing about it. We know the real, no matter what, you could throw up the 4 brands. You could have WWE versus AEW versus TNA versus NXT. AEW is going to put on the best pay-per-view of the weekend. Now, buys-wise, because that you actually have to pay for theirs, I don't know if the other shows are going to affect it as much. Because you have to pay for that pay-per-view on its own. Now, you also have to pay for TNA Plus to be able to watch their pay-per-view. So that could hurt them as well because it's not on AMC. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't like when they do these big weekends of shows because I don't have the time to sit down and watch 4 shows. I don't. And it's like, you had Father's Day last weekend. You couldn't have put one of these shows on Father's Day. Or, honestly, I don't like shows on Sundays. So, like, you got 3 shows on Sunday, plus people's got to get up and go to work on Monday. That is bad timing. You should have done, like, I wish AEW would stop doing Sunday night shows. They're not going to because they don't want to. I don't understand why they think that if the football season's not on, that pay-per-view needs to be on Sunday. You don't stop your shows till 1 a.m. Like, realistically, you could run them on Saturday. It wouldn't hurt my feelings. You could run them like the best start time of all these shows is for sure the WWE show at 1 p.m. And then I love that the other shows starting at like 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. Like, that's great. Middle of the day, perfect. You can still go 6 hours and I don't give a shit. Like, if you started at 4 p.m. and ran until 10 p.m., great. We're still quitting at a regular time. You know, that's 4 hours. I'm happy. You know, whatever. So, but those are the shows this weekend. Down in the comments, tell me which show you're going to be watching, who you think you're going to win, and all that fun stuff. And if you aren't already, hit subscribe, hit the like button, give us those old thumbs up. Thumbs up helps on every video. It helps that algorithm. It helps us be found. Like I said, we are on the verge of 1,000 subscribers, and we're doing the giveaway. Link down below on that. If you listen this far, you already heard that I am giving stuff away. So I will be sharing all those videos and more throughout the weekend. And I hope to be back before Thursday, but maybe Thursday at the latest, to talk about everything that's been going on. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Enjoy the weekend of wrestling, and please subscribe. Get us over 1,000 subscribers. Peace.